This is a tubular battery. It's also referred to as a flooded lead acid battery. You can also call it a wet cell battery. You're not wrong, okay? And right here is a lithium iron phosphate battery, a lithium battery. So what exactly is the difference between these two batteries? Because people always wonder, which one should I go for? Which one is most appropriate for my installation? So right now that you're thinking in that direction of setting up your solar system and you're wondering what type of batteries should I get, you're in luck, because I'll tell you 20 differences between these two batteries. 20 differences that you need to know. So by the time you listen to that 20 differences between these two batteries, you would have made up your mind which is most appropriate or which suits your solar system. Stay close. My name is Ikenna from Smiling Sun. Everything solar installation, everything inverter installation, everything going green. I'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Let's not waste time. Let's get into it. A very good place to start will be the budget, because budget has a way of limiting you to a particular component. So the lithium battery is more expensive than the tubular battery. In fact, when this guy was introduced, it could buy the tubular battery 3 times over. But right now, the cost is beginning to come down. So it can get the tubular battery, the flooded lead acid battery twice over. And some people might say, why don't I get the cost of 2 for 1? Okay, so in this case, if budget is a constraint for that solar system that you want to set up, you might be looking in the way of the tubular battery as opposed to going for the lithium battery. So let's look at the weight of the lithium battery and the tubular battery, the flooded lead acid battery. So we have 2 of these tubular batteries here. Each of them is 12 volts by 220 amps, making it 2.64 kilowatt. So in total, you should be getting around 5.28 kilowatt in total. But for easy math, let's say the 2 of them is 5 kilowatt. And this lithium battery here is also 5 kilowatt. So let's look at the weight. A 5 kilowatt hour lithium battery typically weighs around 50 kilograms. Okay? And right here, like I said, we have 2 tubular batteries here, each making it 5 kilowatt hour battery, right? Each of them weighs around 70 kilograms. So in total, both of them are weighing 140 kilograms. Now you can see that this weighs way less than the tubular battery. Maintenance is very key, all right? So that should be a major factor for us to look at in terms of comparing the 2 batteries to find out what is the difference between the 2 of them. The lithium battery is 0 maintenance. You have absolutely nothing to maintain. It's built to be plug and play, all right? So if you're not tech savvy or handy, you have absolutely nothing to worry about because there's nothing to maintain right here on the lithium battery. But unfortunately, it's not the same case with the tubular battery or flooded lead acid battery because it requires maintenance. Number 1, when the batteries are charging, it emits hydrogen. Of course, you know that the content of the battery is electrolyte, not electrolyte in the body. Electrolyte is a mixture of sulfuric acid and distilled water brought to a certain concentrate, all right, referred to as specific gravity. That's what you have on this battery. But when the battery is charging, it emits hydrogen. The battery loses water. Okay, so at some point you might need to hydrate the battery by pouring in water. All right, so it has a plate here. All right, so the water is not meant to go below that plate. So once the battery charges to a certain level, you're meant to refill it. So on these caps, you have the descriptions. You have the place where you have green and you have the place where you have red. When the water level of the electrolyte gets down to that level where you have the red markings, you're meant to refill it. Otherwise, it's going to damage the plate of the battery. You're meant to refill it until it gets all the way to the green mark. That means it's full. So this is part of the maintenance. And secondly, it's going to be having corrosions on the terminal. So you're meant to clean up the corrosions that come on the terminal. You know that what is contained here is sulfuric acid and water, so it's really very corrosive. So at some point, you might need to service the batteries, completely shut down your system, loosen the bolts, clean it up. You can also use sandpaper at some point to clean it up. Because if you don't take off that corrosion that you have on the terminal of the batteries, it is going to form resistance in the batteries. You might have resistance in the current flow in the battery, which is what you don't need because you need the energy to be flowing unabated. All right, let's look at the energy density, the energy storage capacity of both batteries. Now, when you have the batteries fully charged, the question is, how much of energy can you extract from these batteries? Now, let's look at the tubular battery, which is a flooded lead-acid battery. Now, the manufacturers of these batteries recommend a 50% energy extraction from these batteries. So what they're saying is that when the battery is fully charged, you can only extract 50%. That's the threshold that is recommended. You should never push beyond that limit. It's important for you to keep in mind that there's a difference between recommendations and possibilities. Recommendation means the manufacturer says you should never go beyond 50% energy extraction from these batteries. But then possibility means that you can actually push beyond that threshold. But if you're pushing beyond that threshold, you are only hurting the cells of the battery. All right, so you are never meant to go beyond the threshold of 50% energy extraction from these batteries. But let's look at the lithium batteries. It's a bit of some good news because you can extract as much as 90% out of this battery. That's the much energy capacity that you can get from this battery, and that's really crazy as compared to the flooded lead-acid batteries. You can extract 90%. And even some manufacturers of these batteries recommend going for as much as 100% energy extraction from these batteries. And that's pretty amazing. And that's a very huge plus and a very huge edge that the lithium battery has over the tubular battery or the flooded lead-acid battery. And by the way, this is Solar. It's a fantastic lithium battery. So if you want to get one for yourself and you want something that is reliable, something that packs energy like a punch, don't miss out on this. I can guarantee you it's a good deal. So if you're having storage constraints and you're worried and you're saying, I don't have so much of a storage room to be able to house all these batteries, which battery should I go for that is going to save me a lot of space? Well, let's look at the lithium battery. The lithium battery is lighter, it's more compact, it weighs less. But unfortunately, the tubular battery takes a whole lot of space. The materials needed to build this battery to be able to give you this capacity, which is over 5 kilowatt hour energy storage, lots of plates. It has electrolytes, which is liquid that makes the battery really big, and it has to be that space to contain that volume of water to enable the battery function efficiently. So the battery is a lot bigger. So if space is a concern, then you might be looking in the way of the lithium battery. So time, they say, is of the essence. Speed. Everybody who owns any of these deep cycle batteries would absolutely love the batteries to charge very fast. That's the dream of every battery owner. All right, so you will like whatever you have that you're using to charge the batteries. If you're charging it from the grid or you're using the solar panels to charge it, you would love it to charge absolutely very fast. So let's look at how long it takes these batteries to charge and what are the limitations. Does any of them charge better than the other one? Let's find out real quick. So the tubular battery does not support fast charging, all right, due to some chemical limitations. You have a lot of chemical reactions when you try to charge the battery very fast. The batteries tend to overheat. And when the batteries overheat, you're going to lose a lot of energy in the process. So it's said to be around 70 to 80% energy efficient. It's typically charged in 3 stages: bulk, absorption, and then float. But for the lithium battery, it's a different ball game. The lithium battery charges extremely very fast and discharges very slowly. So it supports fast charging. All right, so whilst the lithium battery can be charged between 1 to 4 hours, you might be needing around 4 to 6 hours to charge the tubular battery, which is a flooded lead acid battery. So this guy supports fast charging and does not go through the 3 cycles of charge, which is the bulk, absorption, and then float. But for the tubular battery, you definitely have to go through that 3 cycles of charge if you really want to get this guy in the right frame of mind and balance all the cells equally. So in a nutshell, the lithium battery charges a lot faster. Right on this count, the lithium battery does a whole lot better when it comes to charging fast. So let's look at the lifespan of this battery. This is also very important for those that want to get the batteries. They need to know how long they would have to rest. before it's time to change the batteries, because the batteries are amongst those components on your solar system that needs changing after a while. Some last longer, some doesn't last as much. So the lifespan of the tubular battery, which is the flooded lead acid battery, is around 1,500 to 2,000 cycles. But the life cycle for the lithium battery is around 6,000 cycles. Okay, so 6,000 cycles is approximately around, if you're going at a depth of discharge of like 80% and you're gone completely off grid, there's no support from the grid, this battery is meant to last for 16 years. Okay, whilst this guy is 1,500 to 2,000 cycles, so it's around 4 years, 3.5 years, depending on the quality of the battery that you have. So the lifespan of the lithium battery is way more than that of the tubular battery. So the lithium battery most definitely is going to outlive the tubular battery. So let's look at the warranties for each of these batteries. We're looking at the warranties that are provided by the manufacturers of these products. What is the warranty that you have in the flooded lead acid battery, and what do you have for the lithium battery? Now, for the flooded lead acid battery, which is a tubular battery, you have 2 years warranty. And for some manufacturers, they give 1 year and 6 months and 1 year and 8 months. All right, but in most cases, it's always 2 years warranty. But for the lithium battery, you have 5 to 10 years warranty placed on the product from the manufacturers. So if anything happens to the battery in 5 years, you're due for a replacement or a fix free of charge. That's what the 5 years warranty covers. So you're covered for 5 to 10 years warranty. But for tubular battery and the flooded lead acid battery, you have 2 years or 1 year and 6 months warranty on it. So let's look at the scalability. The scalability doesn't really favor so much of the tubular battery, because it's always advised for you to buy everything that you want to use at the same time. The moment the tubular battery ages, it becomes a problem. So if you're adding an additional one, it doesn't work so well from my experience. So if you're adding an extra battery to an already existing battery, let's say 6 months down the line, 8 months down the line, 1 year down the line, it's going to be a problem. Okay, so the both of them will never be able to charge at the same rate. You're going to have a lot of current differentials, you're going to have a lot of voltage differentials. Everything is going to be in total disarray. Okay, so you're not going to have that synchronized current charging or voltage charging just the way you want, and that is going to affect the life of the one that you're just introducing, which is going to be the brand new one. But for the lithium battery, it gives you a lot of flexibility for you to be able to scale with ease. So for instance, if you can afford a 5 kilowatt today, you can afford to add another one even 6 months or 1 year down the line. They all can work very well as long as you have the communication cables connected and they're all communicating, meaning the old battery and the one that you're introducing to it. Okay, so but it doesn't work so well with the tubular battery, but for the lithium battery, it gives you that ease of scalability to be able to add more and more and more batteries to be able to increase your storage capacity. So which of these two batteries is considered to be environmentally friendly? That will be the lithium battery. But let's look at the tubular battery first. The tubular battery, while it's charging, emits hydrogen gas, all right, which is deemed to be very harmful to your health. And it even becomes worse when you're doing equalization, because you need to do equalization periodically on these batteries to be able to balance the cells and get them to operate very smoothly. So whilst the battery is charging, of course, you know that the content of the battery is sulfuric acid and distilled water. So when the battery is charging, and most especially when the battery is charging with high voltage, it emits hydrogen gas, which is deemed to be very harmful to your health and generally considered to be environmentally unfriendly. But for the lithium battery, it doesn't emit any form of gas. It is considered to be 100% environmentally friendly. It's just going to be sitting right there at the corner of your house, very quiet. So it's very cool. It doesn't emit any form of gas. So the tubular battery is not meant to be placed in enclosed places where you don't have proper ventilation. So if the inside of your house is not properly ventilated from the windows, allowing air to ensure that the hydrogen being emitted circulates properly and it's not hazardous to your health, keep this guy on the outside. On the outside is pretty safe. because it's a very open area, so it just goes straight into the air and everything is fine. Okay, so this is the difference between the two of them. Whilst this is environmentally friendly, this is considered not to be environmentally friendly. So let's look at standby mode and how the batteries fare as compared to each other when it comes to standby mode. Now, for the standby mode, which is very important for people who don't stay at a particular location for a very long time, but they have to use their solar system. So the tubular battery likes to be charged all the time. So if you own a tubular battery, you know that it has to be constantly charged at all time. So if you don't charge this battery as much as you should, the battery is going to sulfate, which means the battery is going to fail, or the battery is going to die. Okay, so it needs to be charged at all time. But for the lithium battery, that's not the case. You can go for a voyage, you can go anywhere, travel, stay as long as you want to stay, and come back to still meet the battery in a very good condition. It doesn't need to be charged all the time. Okay, so you can charge it halfway and leave it. You can charge it a quarter, you can charge it fully, however you want to do it, and you can leave it for as long as you want to leave it and still come back and the battery is still in a very good state. Battery charge cycle. You have bulk charge, absorption charge, flow charge, and then periodically you're definitely going to have equalization charge. But here's the thing, not every battery goes through the 4 cycles of charge. But let's start with the flooded lead acid battery. The flooded lead acid battery goes through the 4 cycles of charge that I just mentioned. It must have to go through the bulk charge, absorption charge, flow charge, and then back to equalization charge. But the lithium battery goes through only 2 cycles of charge, which is the bulk charge, and then it gets back to flow charge. It doesn't have to go through the 2 remaining cycles of charge, which helps it to charge even faster. Okay, so this is a major difference between the two of them. Whilst the tubular battery goes through 4 cycles of charge, the lithium battery goes only 2 cycles of charge. And in fact, for some lithium batteries, they tell you it doesn't need no flow charge, because of course, it retains the voltage at that level. This, my friend, is a major difference between these 2 types of battery. So what's the self-discharge for each of these battery? The self-discharge for the flooded lead acid battery, the tubular battery, is between 10 to 15% in every single month. That's why when you leave it for a very long time, it runs pretty low. But for the lithium battery, the self-discharge on the battery is quite very negligible. It's actually very insignificant. It's between 1 to 3% in a month. So that means you can leave it for a very long time. And even if it does self-discharge to the point where it gets low, it doesn't affect the battery, all right? So that's one of the very strong edges that it has over the tubular battery. So the self-discharge for this battery in a month is about 1 to 3%, while that of the tubular battery is between 10 to 15%, and that's a whole lot. Let's look at collapse in voltage. One of these batteries, when you put on a load on it, it's going to collapse, and most especially when the load is much. Let's find out which of these batteries that can happen to. The tubular battery. The tubular battery, when you put on a load, a heavy load on the battery, you will experience a very huge drop in the voltage. It's called the voltage collapse. So let's say the voltage of this battery is currently 51 volts. When you put on a big load on this battery, it is going to drop to as much as 49 volts. It is called the voltage collapse. All right, it happens to the flooded lead acid battery. The lead acid batteries in general, it happens to them when they have a heavy load, which they see as a surge, the voltage will drop. But when you take off that load, it rises back. But that doesn't happen to the lithium battery. Any amount of load you put on the lithium battery is still going to maintain the voltage, and the voltage will begin to drop normally. And the voltage will be dropping in accordance to the battery drainage. All right, that means the battery is going down as you're draining the battery, which is very normal. Now let's look at the end of life behavior. How are these batteries going to be behaving when they are old? Let's look at it. For the tubular battery, the failure of the battery is going to give you a little bit more time for you to be able to get another battery. So it's not just going to stop working all of a sudden one day and you don't have power anymore. It's going to be showing you signs. It's going to be reducing its storage capacity. For instance, if it stores energy for 4 hours, it's going to start reducing to 3 hours, then 2 hours, 1 hour, 30 minutes, thereabout. You know, it will give you that ample time for you to make arrangements to get another battery. But for the lithium battery, unfortunately, it's not the same case. The lithium battery with no warning is going to fail. So when it gets to that end of its life cycle, it is suddenly going to fail. It is barely going to be holding any power at all. So that's their behavior. This is going to give you ample time for you to get a new battery, but unfortunately the lithium battery won't. The battery management system is super important for your batteries. If your battery doesn't have a battery management system, chances are a lot of things are going to be going wrong in the battery. For the lithium battery comes pre-installed with a battery management system which performs an array of functions. For instance, this guy can protect your battery from damage from excessive voltage. For instance, the lithium battery has a charge voltage range from 56 volts to around 58.4 volts. Anything higher than that, the battery management system is going to kick in and shut down the BMS because it's seeing an excessive voltage which it knows and deems to be very harmful to the cells of the battery. So it's going to kick in and shut down the system real quick. That's what it does. It also manages the temperature. If the temperature is rising above the temperature that is recommended for the cells of the battery, it's going to shut down. It also ensures that all the individual cell voltages of the battery are all charging and discharging at the same current. You have 16 battery cells in this battery. It is the function of the BMS to ensure that every single one of them is charging with the same amount of voltage and the same amount of current, both when the battery is charging and when the battery is discharging. That's the function of the battery management system. The battery management system also ensures that the battery gets to communicate with the inverter. It has a whole lot of functions. But here, the tubular battery doesn't come with a battery management system. And for most people, they just connect it directly, which ends in disaster. The lithium battery comes with a screen that shows you every single activity that is going on the battery. All right, for instance, you can get to see all the individual cell voltages. You can get to see the charge and discharge currents of the battery. You can get to see the overall voltage of the battery. The battery SOC, which is the battery state of charge. You can get to see the cycles of the battery because the battery is meant to cycle 6,000 times. So when you click on the screen, you can get to see how long the battery has cycled. And that's a very huge improvement over the tubular battery, because the tubular battery doesn't come with any screen that shows you what is going on in the battery. So most times you're pretty much blind at what's going on in the battery. Okay, so the only way you can find out the voltage of the battery is to check on the inverter, or you can use a multimeter to test, to either clamp to check the current or to also check the voltage. But the lithium battery comes pre-installed with a screen that gives you all the information that you need on the battery. Let's look at the cost of maintaining these two batteries. For the lithium battery, it is zero maintenance. And zero maintenance means zero cost. There's nothing to spend money on trying to maintain this battery because the battery does not require any form of maintenance. But for the tubular battery, you definitely have to spend money on the maintenance of this battery. You will definitely have to buy the distilled water each time the battery needs a hydration. When the electrolyte goes down, you definitely have to purchase a distilled water to refill the battery. And then when you have corrosions appearing on the battery terminals, you definitely have to get in the help of a technician who is going to come in, shut down the system and clean the corrosions to keep the unabated current flow on the battery. Let's look at the installation flexibilities of the two batteries. For the tubular battery, it does not have any installation flexibility. There's only one way to install the tubular battery, which is right in this position, as you can see it, the standing position. But for the lithium battery, you can install the lithium battery both on the vertical and horizontal lines. Sometimes you don't know the kind of space that you're going to meet, and that is where the flexibility comes handy. All right, so you can install this right the way it is. You can install it vertically, horizontally, okay, because nothing spills. It doesn't have any liquid. But this has to be in this standing position as it is right now, so that the liquid that you have on the inside doesn't spill. So if you have to bend the battery in a bit to try to install it in a different way apart from the standing position, it is going to spill the electrolyte liquid that you have on the inside of the battery. Communications to the inverter. So let's look at each of these batteries which has the potential to communicate with the inverter. And that is going to be the lithium battery. The lithium battery can communicate with the inverter. The lithium battery is equipped with a communication cable that is connected to the battery and then connected to the inverter, so that the inverter can best understand the parameters to use when charging the battery. Very important. It can also monitor the temperature and ensure that the battery is charging with the right parameter. But for the tubular battery, it doesn't have any communication cable that you can use to connect the battery to the inverter. So the battery will definitely have to depend on the parameters that you've set on the inverter to be able to charge the battery. So the inverter is going to rely on you to give it all the information that it needs, the accurate information to be able to charge this battery. So you will definitely have to extract all the right parameters, the charge voltage, the low cutoff voltage, the charge current, everything that this battery needs, and you'll have to manually impute it on the inverter for that charging system to be smooth and healthy for this battery. So what differences do you know between the lithium battery and the tubular battery? Leave it on the comment section. You never know, you might just be rewarded. That's all for now, everybody. Thank you so very much for being part of this. If you haven't subscribed, always remember, that's how you support this work that we're doing, and we fully appreciate it. Don't forget to comment, don't forget to share, and do not forget to like. See you guys in the next video.